Hey folks, Ariel at Nyth. I'm going to do a little slideshow of my tiny house through the years. First 2.5, almost 3 years ago, she showed up on a snowy winter day a little bit before Thanksgiving. The whole going off grid right at the start of winter thing is not necessarily the right way I would recommend that you do it, but that is what I did. You can see the nice bright new wood color she used to be before I stained her. Then it headed into being spring, and the snow started melting out. She was actually parked in a slightly different spot that it was basically just downhill of where she is now. There you can see the raging stream that you can hear in my current videos as the snow melt happens again. Then we towed her in the spring, because we couldn't the winter before, up the hill with the tractor to her current spot. That's when she first got settled into the clearing. Still all bright new looking wood, and there's brush that hadn't been mown down. Then I worked at staining her so she'd blend in a little bit better to her surroundings, and I actually was really very happy with how the gray color turned out. I think it blends into a wooded setting very well, and I'm really glad I did. I like it even better than the original. As I lived in this spot, I've worked on adding the flower boxes around the house, on keeping some of the brush mowed down so that I have a little bit of a yard that is pretty much made out of natural grasses and such that have been growing there on their own and have filled in as the brush has been kept down so they didn't have to compete with it. Summers are beautiful, warm, sunny, except for when it decides to do something like frost or snow in the middle of summer, which happens as well. And I got to build my garden. I do have frost covers on it. You can kind of see pop up in a few of the photos that let me extend the growing season a little bit when we get really cold spells in the middle of summer. And overall, my first year garden did pretty well, and I was able to produce a lot of food. It's fun to watch the seasons change and the sunset from my house out of a little fire pit. There's hailstorms, rainstorms, made everything really bright and green. Can't wait till it gets back to that again. The fire pit's a pretty nice place to hang out with friends or just even by yourself in the summer and watch the house, watch the wildlife. The solar panels used to be right beside the house. They are now up the hill where you can't see them in a lot of the photos just because they get more direct sun up there versus being down below where the trees shade them a good bit in the winter. So you can see it's getting towards fall again. This, the garden was pretty mature. Can grow a lot of kale. It can handle a cold climate. The flowers around the house did well. And things started cooling off. There's not a lot of leaves that change colors in this area, but some of the little brush does get some bright yellows and some even orange tones to it. Pine trees, of course, don't change. I really like living somewhere with all four seasons. I think kind of as each one rolls around, I tend to think it's my favorite, but I guess I really just like all of them. Here you can kind of see some of the frosty mornings. Some of the plants are starting to die. You can see the ice in the grass, and then the first little snowfall of the year, which often melts again, goes back to having some warmer, sunnier days, and then you get real snow. That doesn't tend to melt again until spring. Winters tend to be pretty long and snowy here. The winter that we're going through right now is not as snowy as the winter that has just ended, but as you can see, things start to pretty rapidly get white, though not very deep yet. When winter rolls around, like I said, I do tend to think it's my favorite. I love watching snowflakes fall. I like seeing everything look white and clean. It makes the house look so cozy and warm and inviting. And it's fun to go outside in crisp, clear days and see when the air just glitters in the cold. Watch the icicles form on the edges of things. Watch the snow deepen and pile up around the house. Start to bury everything else that you can see. And, in this area, there's a lot of months of winter, so it kind of just keeps coming and piling up more and more. Makes the house look really cozy at night. Um, and like I said, makes everything just look crisp and clean and fresh, which I enjoy, even though it does tend to involve a lot of extra work in some ways, like all the snow shoveling. Thankfully, I do have a neighbor who plows my driveway, which allows me to get to my house, and I shovel everything around the house. But pine trees are just so gorgeous with snowy pillow piles stacked up on their branches and framed against the blue sky, especially. In the spring, then the snow starts to shrink again. Springs tend to turn into a mud season around here. You can see the snow piles shrinking, bare spots appearing, mud showing up. That's kind of the season of the year I'm in right now. And little blizzards come back in between. You get sunshine, then you get fresh snow, then it starts to melt again. Then you'll get more, and that's just kind of how the cycle goes. There is snow on the ground for more months here than there's not, but I really enjoy winter. Then it finally warmed up enough that most of the ground was bare. Some of the shadier spots still had big piles. The grass is starting to turn green. It starts to turn green almost before the snow melts off of it. And all of a sudden it just looks kind of bare and barren until things have a chance to really start growing. Here you can see more, green tints coming out through the grass, and then I'll be starting to plant the garden, and it will start growing as fast as it can, though nothing grows super fast in this area. You can go back to having outside bonfires and hanging out around the fire pit, grilling steaks outside, but even then you can get more fresh snow. And then the sun comes back pretty quickly, but then the snow can as well. There is no day of the year here where where it's not possible for it to snow. It can snow in the 4th of July, it can snow in August. Usually those don't stick around very long, but it does happen. Hence those frost covers you can see laying on the ground, so I can cover up the veggies and hopefully help them survive if we get one of those real light ones. You can have friends over around the fire pit, enjoy a bonfire, looking at the clouds, watching the sunset behind the house, beautiful sun rays streaming through the trees. I do get to live in a pretty awesome spot. The flowers start getting bigger around the house again. I love the way they kind of hide the base of the house and make it look all settled and homey, and you can't even tell that it's on wheels. Plus, I just like flowers. Then the summer turns into fall again. The leaves start turning yellow. Whatever trees have leaves, you can kind of see in the background there's some cottonwoods. Their leaves get yellow for a little bit as well. And the nights start cooling off, the days do as well, and you start returning to more snowfall. As you can see, there's not a lot of days in between, but then it'll melt and be sunny again, and then it'll snow again. And then it goes in, once again into another winter worth of being real snow. These pictures are in chronological order from the time that I bought my tiny house in November of 2014. So November of this year will be 3 full years that I've lived here. I just finished my 3rd full winter as it is. So I have lots of snow pictures. You can see the clean white blanket showing up. Again, the house looks so warm and cozy at night. This year the snow got deep. The snowpack broke all records for the state of Wyoming. It's the highest recorded winter since record keeping began, sometimes in the 1800s. So as you look through the photos from what is now this winter just passed, you can see these snowbanks creeping up significantly higher around the house than in the other 2 winters I have photos from. As the snow continued to deepen, and it did snow almost every day with very little breaks for quite a while, the snowbanks get almost level with the eaves at one point before they finally start to shrink again. The house gets so buried the photos almost don't even look interesting here in a bit because you can't even really see anything but the peak of the roof sticking out. I probably took a photo on every blue sunny day that the sun did come out because there were so few of them. And in between, there was lots of cloud covered and snowy days, lots of snow shoveling to do. Try to keep those paths open nice and wide. I could get a snowblower, but I kind of enjoy snow shoveling and the peace and quiet versus using a machine. That's my neighbor's snowblower. That is what lets me get out to the road, for which I'm very thankful. There you can see, the banks approaching level with the eaves. This is looking down from up on the hill where my solar panels are. Me shoveling snow. And the wood stove pumping out some smoke when it's first relit in the morning. Another day with some sun and clouds, and the still deepening snowbanks. The house is starting to look almost invisible, and it just didn't stop. It was starting to get almost discouraging. You could shovel all day. I shovel for several other people. It doesn't take me all day to do just mine. And every time you go to bed, it would snow all night, and you'd wake up with more than you'd done the day before. But spring eventually did come, and the rains started to shrink those piles back down around the house. The shoveled pathways turned to mud, the driveway turned to mud. It's only just starting to dry out now. The stars around here are gorgeous at night. I love the volume of stars you can see with how little light pollution there is in the area. And there, continued to get fresh snowfalls in between, but the snow piles kept shrinking. They're going back down. Got some really warm days, even with fresh snow on the ground. And now all the paths are bare, and the openings between the paths are shrinking back rapidly. Had to split a little more firewood this spring to get through the winter because I didn't split quite as much as I should have last fall. And then I started knocking down the edges on some of the banks every time there was a warm day, just so those big piles where I'd piled it all winter could go away. Hope you guys enjoy watching my tiny house find Nyth through all the seasons she's been through so far. Comment, like, share, subscribe, and if you want more info on her, check out all my other tiny house videos. Thanks!